It's time for the business news now with Nona Peltier, who's joined me in the studio. Hi, Nona. NZX, so it's reported a strong full-year result. What numbers do you have for us?
Yeah, so the NZX is the operator of the stock market, and they had a pretty good year, which reflects what we saw in the market. The NZX Top 50 Index rose about 30% last year, and so that's reflecting in their result. The operator's result was up about 0.25%, actually a little bit more. Not 0.25%, up by 1/4. That's 25%. Excuse me. Let's just get that right. To 14.6 million. Now, if they take out the non-operation, so they've discontinued some of their businesses, it was still up more than 7%. So that's still quite a good result for NZX. And even though they only had 2 company listings in the past year, they still are very, very positive because those 2 particulars, which were Cannasouth, which is a cannabis research company, and the other one, which was Port of Napier or Napier Port, were both well received and supported by the market. They're saying that there is a very strong movement, some momentum behind the capital markets. The value of the capital markets in New Zealand nearly doubled in the past year to $18.7 billion. And a lot of that was in growth in exchange-traded funds. And those are the kinds of funds people can trade themselves. It's a passive type of fund. It doesn't require an active manager. And the chief executive expects those to continue to build momentum because there is a move towards that as well. KiwiSaver is really driving the growth in those particular funds. So good result for NZX, and they're expecting a good year ahead.
On the flip side, perhaps, manufacturing industry has contracted for 2 months in a row. Now, what does that tell us about how things are going?
Yeah, it doesn't tell us a lot of good things about the manufacturing sector. And this was before the coronavirus, the COVID-19, first time I've ever said that out loud. Yep. The COVID-19 virus was something that did appear in a couple of the comments that they gathered in the January numbers, but it didn't really feature. So how much more effect that's going to have, it's hard to say. However, our numbers, even though they were in contraction, mirrors what's happening in the global world. So in terms of PMI, this is a pretty common kind of economic indicator that many countries gather that same type of information. And if you put the chart up against the other, the global versus New Zealand, there's hardly any difference at all. So we are really tracking what's happening around the world. It's going to be hard to say what happens next because there's a lot of wild cards out there. We don't really know how long this virus will persist. Certainly manufacturers are going to be taking a bit of a pause there to see how it all shakes out.
And we'll have more on the coronavirus later in the program, but bring us up to date with today's numbers, Nona.
Yeah, so there was a bit of, with the change in the number of, deaths and cases of the virus, the markets, it sort of sent a bit of a chill through the markets as well. And so our top 50 index, it closed down more than 1/3%. It's 46 points down to 11,835. That's still quite a strong market, isn't it? And the New Zealand dollar is buying 64.3 US cents. 95.7 Australian, 49.3 British pence, which is pretty much where we were this morning.
Thanks, Nona. That's Nona Peltier with some of your business numbers. And if that is not enough for you, there are some more business offerings. You can check out this week's podcast, 2 cents worth. Now, since the 80s, think big has been a bit of a dirty word. So the government's plans to spend $12 billion on infrastructure has some people quaking in their boots. So 2 cents worth revisits Think Big to see if it's been as bad as it was made out to be. So you can get that through your normal channels for podcasts, 2 cents worth. Really worth a listen.